Hey, y'all, you're listening to Dusty Leigh Houston on Hank's Corner.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Hank's Corner. I'm Hank Jr., part of Hank Jr. Productions, where I'm documenting life's moments through photography, videography, and now podcasting. And tonight on my show, I have the 2022 ISSA Female Vocalist of the Year, and she will be performing on its main stage in August. Her latest song, The Hell I Won't, is doing really well, jumped from 170 to 122 on the country music breakout chart. She's also named after a ZZ Top member. Please welcome to the show, Dusty Leigh Houston. How you doing, Dusty?
I'm great. How are you doing?
Oh, I'm doing well. And offline, we talked about it's Monday. So, how are Mondays for you in general?
Busy, always busy. Sometimes I'm a little anxious come Monday morning just because I do have a full-time job aside from my full-time music job. So, Mondays are always a little chaotic for me.
Yeah, and I hear that too because I have a full-time job that's separate from my photography and podcasting and all that. So I can understand that. But tell me, where are you calling in from today?
I'm calling in from Chattanooga, Tennessee.
Okay, and Chattanooga is now your home city, correct?
It is. Yep, it is for the last about a year and a half.
About a year and a half? Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so time is flying a little bit.
It is.
How are you liking it so far?
Honestly, I love it. I mean, we moved here sight unseen. I did a bunch of research and I settled on Chattanooga for a few reasons. I didn't want to be in the big city between Atlanta and Nashville, and but I also didn't. Living in Idaho, I loved the mountains, and we camped and we fished and we four-wheel and all that kind of stuff. So I didn't really want to give that up. And Chattanooga has some of the best trails, and I'm close to the mountains, and we've got the rivers, and so I love it here.
Okay. And we'll talk a little bit more about why you had to move a lot, but is this going to be, more of a permanent style location for you?
I think so. It's definitely a place that we really love. We have a daughter that lives in North Carolina. We've got friends that live in North Carolina. So it's kind of a good in-between place. Most of the places that we like to visit are right around here. So it seems that way.
Okay. And I'll be honest, as many times as I've traveled from Florida here in Tampa is where we're recording, up to Nashville, I go right through Chattanooga or the outskirts of Chattanooga so many times, but I have not actually stopped there.
Oh,
So now I have a reason to stop
absolutely.
there. But you're saying it's definitely very scenic out that way.
It is. It is. It's very beautiful. There's so many cool things to see. And I mean, like I said, we've been here for about a year and a half, and I don't feel like we've even tipped the iceberg of all of the cool stuff that is around here. So it's next time you're in town, holler at me and we'll catch up and have some lunch or something.
Definitely have to do that. And, like I said, all the times that I go to Nashville, usually it's about the artist and, I'm doing a little business that way. But we actually did get to go up to Gatlinburg not too long ago. And at the Thanksgiving time, we went to see another artist playing up there. And, I really fell in love with the scenic aspect. I mean, I've heard that Tennessee is very beautiful, but I got to experience it firsthand, got to see my first live bear walking around out there. So, I'm definitely going to have to make it.
Yeah, I love that Gatlinburg area. It's one of my favorite places to visit. We go there pretty frequently, actually.
Okay. And do you ever get back to the other side of the country in Idaho?
I do. I have been back, let's see, 3 times since I've lived here. So every few months I go back. Most of my family still lives there. And we did a tour back there in September. So I still make it back pretty frequently.
Okay, well, that's good. So I want to talk about your latest single that's come out, The Hell I Won't.
Yeah.
It is doing really well. Like we said, that it's jumping out on the music breakout chart. Tell me, did you expect that kind of to happen, or was that something that was just, very surprising to you?
It's always something that you hope will happen. Everybody is really proud of the music that they put out. And so you're always hoping for that. But when it makes it on the actual chart, I'm always so humbled and thankful and grateful. I did not expect it to jump 48 spots in a week. So that was, I was like, ah. So I had one of those moments. It's just, it's such a great feeling to see it. I mean, it's only been out, Friday was a week. And so to see it doing well is that for me is the payoff. It's a song I had a hand in. It was one of my songs that I wrote with Mary Kutter and Craig Wilson. And so when something does well that you're really proud of, it's just everything from the top is just gravy. So
Yeah, and I had Mary Cutter on my most recent as well, new music post as well. So she's got a new song that's out doing really well. But tell me a little bit more about the song and the concept and where it all came from.
So I had this idea for this song for probably a good 4 or 5 years. I'm new to songwriting myself. I don't play an instrument, so it's I play the tambourine. It's kind of hard to write a song to a tambourine. But I have a lot of song ideas and stuff. And so when we got here and I hooked up with Mary and Craig Wilson, I told them that this is really a song about where I've come from as far as the life that I've lived and my upbringing and how music was an influence to me and how tragedy when I was younger, my mother died when I was 15, how it kind of put everything on the back burner and how I fought through all that to kind of be where I am now and how this was really my anthem for, people that, said I'd never make it or I wasn't good enough or, all of those things, how that just became the fuel to my fire, which is one of my favorite lines in the song. So that's kind of where the idea formulated from, and working with those two. They're just phenomenal songwriters and artists themselves. And taking that and putting it into what it is now is, it's awesome. It ended up being more than I could have ever asked for. So
Yeah, I'm definitely liking the song, and I'm going to go ahead and play it here on Hank's Corner.
perfect. Thank you.
Can't wear that dress so tight, better trade that whiskey for red wine. I'm too blonde to drop the F-bomb and I misbehave but walk the line. Mind your manners, meet those standards, all those do's and don'ts. Hell, I won't go home, yeah, watch me prove you wrong. Do it on my own, won't leave one up alone. Like kerosene, all the things you said to me. Fuel my fire, I'll go higher, leave you in the smoke. Hell, I won't. Tattoo on the back of my neck says respect, so I don't forget where I'm from, what I'm made of, where I'm headed next. The hell, I won't go home, yeah, watch me prove you wrong. Do it on my own, won't leave well enough alone. Like kerosene, all the things you said to me. Fuel my fire, I'll go higher, leave you in the smoke. Hell, I won't. These scars and broken hearts made me who I am. I've lived through the darkest parts, now I know I can. The hell, I won't go home, yeah, watch me prove you wrong. Do it on my own, won't leave well enough alone. Like kerosene, all the things you said to me. Fuel my fire, I'll go higher, leave you in the smoke. Hell, I won't. Whoa, but hell, I won't. Hell, I won't. Hell, I won't.
Welcome back to Hank's Corner. I'm Hank Jr. here with my special guest, Dusty Leigh. And you just heard her latest song, The Hell I Won't. Now, like I said, you're doing really well right now. And I think you're on a great path. But tell me, where did this path actually start? Take me back to those days when you were very young and you were getting up on stage and you had that stage fright. Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah. So, it really started, when I was probably first, second grade, we had a Christmas play, and we had an amazing elementary school music director. Her name was Miss Moore. And I basically memorized all the grades parts. And I filled in for a girl who was supposed to sing one of the songs, and she was out sick. And so my music teacher asked if I would sing it, which was awesome, until I got in front of everybody and realized that I had horrible stage fright. And unfortunately that stuck with me as an adult. But that really kind of started my performing. And then my mom kind of realized that I guess that I could sing, for lack of better words. But so of course she started dragging me to every karaoke contest and talent contest, from Idaho to Oregon. But again, the stage fright really kind of was horrible for me, something that I've literally struggled with my whole life. But when I was about 11, 12 maybe, we had a fair in our hometown, and they had a karaoke booth, and that was my first time singing karaoke. And one of the talent guys was there, and he put us in touch with actually Tanya Tucker's. She was coming to our state fair, and they were basically taking a compilation of people that they had found doing the karaoke, and they were going to do this opening slot for this concert. And so that's kind of how things had started. And then I sang from there. And then, like I had mentioned, my mom had passed away when I was younger. So things kind of got put on the back burner. And that's basically where it all kind of started.
Right. Now, you had a hard time dealing with stage fright. A lot of the artists I've talked to, in some cases, they have stage fright at the beginning, but they seem to get over it quite quickly. Usually some of the things they talk about, well, once the crowd starts getting into it, or, sometimes I just kind of black out and just do my thing, depending on whether it's the music or the Broadway part of their careers. But you had something else that was very interesting. And the reason why I like that is because that is something that I would do in the same flavor. So tell us a little bit about how you got over your stage fright, at least on one show.
Peanut butter whiskey.
Definitely love that. That's kind of my go-to right now.
It is. Yeah. I actually, a few years ago, well, quite a few years ago, in 2012, I opened for Parmalee. And we were in North Carolina at this this venue called Kelly's. And it was kind of my first big, opening act, we knew Parmalee. I was like, these guys are amazing. They're all over the radio. And about 15, 20 minutes before I went on stage, I had a horrible panic attack. And I called my dad, who was living in Idaho at the time. And I was like, Dad, I can't do this. I'm literally going to have this. I can't. And he assured me, he's like, I want you to go to the bar, and I want you to ask for a shot of something. And I didn't drink at the time. And my dad didn't drink either. So it's funny that's what he encouraged, but he's like, I want you to go to the bar and get a shot of something. And I was so green to all of it. I went to the bar and I asked the guy, I just need a shot of that. Well, he poured me a shot of Jack Daniels and it worked. I mean, I gagged it down and I performed, and it was great. And I met the guys and they were awesome. But I kind of evolved from there. And then a few years ago, I found peanut butter whiskey, and that is chef's kiss. And so that does the trick every time. If I played a show in an area where I am comfortable, it's a little bit easier for me. Mm-hmm. If it's a new venue and I don't know what to expect, my anxiety gets a little out of control. But I just bring out my old friend peanut butter whiskey, and I seem to do just fine. So.
Yeah, and that is weird sometimes for the audience to hear that, because when we watch performers out there, sometimes, well, I should say most times, we don't even recognize that there's any type of stage fright, or right. Even if you're messing up or anything like that, we tend not to notice this. But being originally from Texas, I'm a huge Dr. Pepper fan, and I've mixed Dr. Pepper with peanut butter whiskey. Have you done that?
Oh, good. Yeah, I didn't try that until last year. Actually, we were in Texas. My best friend lives in McKinney, and we were at, oh my gosh, I don't even remember where we were. And one of her friends was like, "Oh, have you tried peanut butter whiskey with?" Because I was saying, if you drink peanut butter whiskey with cranberry juice, it tastes like a peanut butter and jelly. And one of the guys was like, "Have you ever tried it with Dr. Pepper?" And I was like, "No," but I mean, I'll try it. It's actually delicious. It's not bad at all. I actually like it. And it's not too bad in coffee. I tried that not too long ago. Thinking, okay. I don't know how I feel about that, but it was actually pretty good.
Well, if I could ever get sponsors to, sponsor me, I would love to have Screwball and Dr. Pepper both sponsor me. That would make a great combination. So tell me a little bit about your influences growing up. I mean, I know that, you talked about before that you had a grandfather that liked watching Hee Haw, and that was
Oh
one
yeah.
of the things, but also as well as, things that you picked up along the way. Who were your influences?
You know, early on, I had I've said this in multiple interviews that I had parents that had a very eclectic taste in music. I grew up on everything. I mean, the 70s and the 80s rock gods, Fleetwood Mac and Stevie Nicks and Chicago and Bob Seger and, John Cougar, but also George Jones and Loretta Lynn and the Judds. Growing up, like most of the records that I kind of flocked to, especially in the country genre, the Judds, probably my biggest. Their harmonies were amazing, and I knew every song that they had ever put out. I loved listening to them. Another one was Katie Oslin. My mom was a huge Katie Oslin fan, and I just loved how sultry her voice was and just the emotions that she, had when she was singing. And of course, Reba during that time, she was really the one that I saw her. One of my very first concerts was Reba. My mom took me to see her when she was touring with Brooks and Dunn. And I was so astounded at how captivating her show was. I mean, I had women next to me crying during It's Your Call, and it was just Reba in this beautiful dress with a little stand next to her and a telephone. But the show that she put on and the emotions that she, got from these people, and that was really like, that's what I want to do. I want to be able to tell a story. I want to be able to affect people like that. So I've never put myself into a box as far as when it comes to my music. I'm very open to a lot of things. But I just feel like those people, the artists that really like Heart, for one. I remember the first time I ever heard Alone, and just the power ballads coming from her voice was just like, it was wild. I just was like, how does one person have that? So I was lucky to have a lot of people that probably shaped my career for many different reasons. So very eclectic tastes of music and influences.
Yeah, and you mentioned power, and one of the songs I'm going to play later on in the podcast is "Make Me Stay." And the reason why I like that, and I'm going to play it last, is because I love at the end how you do bring out a little bit of power to the song. It's really great, and I can see that now where you say you pulled that from performances. But also, your mom was a big fan of ZZ Top, as we alluded to the show. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so it wasn't until I was probably 12 or 13. My mom has always loved ZZ Top, had every album. I grew up with those guys. I didn't make the connection about Dusty Hill and me until I found this photo album we had this like bureau, and my mom had all these photo albums. And one time I got curious and I was looking through it, and there was all these concert tickets. I mean, tons and tons of concert tickets. And it was ZZ Top, pictures of like her and my dad at the concert. And I remember one time I saw this little snippet of this letter from my real dad, and basically kind of talking about, being named after ZZ Top, after Dusty Hill, and asking my mom, like, I mean, I always wondered, like, why did you give me such a boy name? Like, people made fun of me so bad relentlessly in school because, that's a boy name. I was like, well, I didn't name myself. But yeah, and that's when she told me, well, we loved ZZ Top, and we happened to be at a ZZ Top concert. And then I found out I was pregnant, and ta-da, and that's where it came from. So
yeah, and like you said, you didn't name yourself, which is what you told one of the Voices producers or people there, which we'll talk about a little bit later. But that's definitely a cool story. I was named after my dad, which I'm very proud of, and of course, I'm Henry, but for all purposes, I'm Hank Jr. And of course, it does have that illusion with Hank Sr. and Hank Jr. the big ones, not right, like us. And there is a line in there where he talks about he's is proud of his father's name. So it's always cool when you are named after somebody and the story about that. But we'll talk a little bit more. I want to go ahead and play "Love Like You're Leaving," and when we'll come back, we'll talk a little bit more about your journey.
Perfect.
Sometimes we're just going through the motions, the perfect moment, and we let that moment pass. Sometimes we both had a hard day and passed each other in the hallway. Don't bother looking back. You deserve so much more than that. I'm gonna love you like you're leaving and say the things you never thought I'd say before you walk away. Forever's not a promise that my heart's prepared to break. And baby, there's no way. I don't wanna wait till there's a reason to love you like you're leaving. This life could disappear in just a minute. Can't imagine you not in it. I'd be lost without your love. And so tonight, I've come to my senses. Gonna mend those broken fences. You waited long enough. I'm gonna love you like you're leaving and say the things you never thought I'd say before you walk away. Forever's not a promise that my heart's prepared to break. So baby, there's no way. And I don't wanna wait till there's a reason to love you like you're Forever's not a promise that my heart's prepared to break. And baby, there's no way. I don't wanna wait till there's a reason to love you like you're leaving. Like you're leaving. Sometimes we're just going through the motions, waiting for the perfect moment. Don't let that moment pass.
Welcome back to Hank's Corner. I'm Hank Jr. I'm here talking with Dusty Leigh, and you just heard one of her songs, Love Like You're Leaving. Please be sure to follow her because she's out there on all social medias. You can also find her on dustyleigh.com. And if you don't mind, by all means, follow me on Hank Jr. Productions as well. So we kind of alluded to The Voice. Now, you did try out with The Voice, which, I've heard stories about The Voice as far as, other artists, going through, whether it's that show or other shows, the ups and the downs and all that. But
Yep.
what's really interesting about your story is because it was kind of more of a surprise audition. Tell the audience a little bit about that.
Yeah, again, back to that whole stage fright thing. My husband in 2013, I was working as a contractor for the Coast Guard at the time, and The Voice at the time was taking these online auditions, and my husband had sent in, I'm guessing, I think a video or something of me singing, and I had made it through the preliminaries, and I was given the go-ahead to go straight to Atlanta. And this is when we lived in North Carolina. And so I'm sure because my husband knows that I would probably have lost my mind. And of course, because I'm a planner, we had kids and, we didn't live near family and all of the ups and downs that go with that. He had planned this surprise, like he had taken care of somebody to watch our girls while we were gone. He had bought all of the flights and the rental car and the hotel, like he had taken care of all of it. And so basically I didn't have a reason to be able to say no. So I came into work one day, and my whole team was on it. They had made this ginormous banner, which I still have, and everybody in our building signed it, like well wishes and all sorts of stuff. So I was coming down the hall and I see this banner, and I'm not paying much attention to it. And then it says like, congratulations and good luck, Dusty. And I was like, what? Like, why for me, you know? And then here comes my husband out of this little room, and he knows I'm not huge on surprises. And then all these people started gathering and clapping, and I was like, what is going on? And then he hands me an envelope, and it was 2 plane tickets to Atlanta. And he kind of explains everything to me. And of course, now I'm like beet red and sweating like crazy. And we were leaving the next day. So I couldn't back out. So we got to Atlanta, and I went through, it was about 6 or 7 rounds. And you're basically like cattle. You go in, and the first few rounds, I think my first 3 or so rounds, there was like 10 or 15 of us. You sing for seconds basically, and they're like, next, you know, and then you get a paper and they tell you who goes next, and then you go to these other rooms. So anyway, I'd made it through to one of the last rounds of the day, and it was me and this other gentleman who was absolutely phenomenal. And we went into this one room, and there was 4 people on this panel, and he went first. They didn't look up. They didn't even give you the time of day basically. And he sang a song, a Huey Lewis song, and it was phenomenal. And they like looked at him, and then they looked at me, and they're like, next. And so I sang, I think a Faith Hill song is what I had sang. And the guy, before I started, he said, what's your name? And I said, Dusty Leigh Houston. And he's like, I don't want your stage name. What's your real name? And I said, Dusty Leigh Houston. And he looked up at me, and he took his glasses off, and he said, that's your real name? And I said, yeah. And I didn't name myself. And he said, well, if that's not country, I'll kiss your ass. So I did the pucker thing. So he's like, well, what are you singing? So I sang. And then he asked me, can you sing something, other than country? And I said, sure. And I don't know why I thought that Pat Benatar, Heartbreaker, would be a great idea to sing a cappella, but I did. And I sang a majority of the entire song before he stopped me. And then he looked up at me, and he said, so what if I told you that if you get the go ahead to move forward, that because they read like your bio and stuff, and it had said in there that I had my band and all that. He said, we can, basically we can change whatever, like we can mold you into something. We can cut your hair, we can change your name, and obviously you would have to give up your band. And that was kind of a no-go for me. Looking back now, I know that I'm kind of at that stage in my life where I know what I want. I know what I'm willing to give to get that. And at that point, it was like, I didn't want to give up my band, and I didn't want to change my name. Like I fought my whole life to have that name. So I said, I'm not really digging that. But he said, I kind of felt that way reading, you seem like you're pretty settled in what you're doing. And the point of the voice, at least from this aspect, is to really take somebody young and mold them into what we want. And I was like, I'm not your girl. Good luck. So, in hindsight, like it was such an amazing experience to kind of see how it is, but you realize that reality TV is not really reality TV. So, but it was great. And it was such an experience. And when I came back, everybody was so supportive, and it was awesome. And I had such a great time. So no regrets.
Yeah. And good or bad, everybody that I've talked to has kind of said the same thing, that it's not what we see on TV that's in the back. And, everybody ultimately has learned from that, whether it's a good experience or a bad experience. But, sometimes when one door closes, they say another one opens up. And that's kind of how it was. You married your husband very young, and he went into the military, and that actually kind of opened up some doors for you, because now you're traveling around different places, and you're having more opportunities to, put your music out there. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah. So we got married in high school. I had just turned 18, and we got married, and we got married in March, and we graduated in May, and then he left boot camp. So yeah, our first station was in Virginia. And again, I sang. He was in the military until 2014, and then we took kind of an early retirement so I could come back to Idaho and help my sister take care of my dad, who was sick at the time. But of all the places that we've lived, we went from Virginia to Washington to Oregon to North Carolina to Alaska, back to North Carolina. Music was always something that I did. I sang at Coast Guard events, and weddings and stuff like that, but it was never in like a professional capacity. We had 2 young daughters. We were working, we were just trying to keep our heads above water, basically. But then it gave me the opportunity to kind of bond with a community when I would do sporting events or Coast Guard events. Most of the places that we lived were really rural area locations, and the Coast Guard was very prevalent in the community. So that was nice to have that sort of camaraderie in such a small location, but it really wasn't until 2010, we moved back to North Carolina from Alaska. And in 2011, we had kind of Wade was stationed with some guys that were musicians, one played guitar, one played drums. And so we would kind of get together at lunchtime and just, they all played, and I didn't play anything at the time. I hadn't even learned the tambourine, but I sang. And so they would learn some songs that I knew, and then we would kind of play. And then my husband, again, he's so tricky. He had said for years, that you are better than a closet singer. You're better than a karaoke singer. But it was the stage fright that literally held me back. I mean, the thought of just being in front of people singing, you should see me when I have to sing the national anthem. It is not pretty. I get so worked up in hives, and it's horrible. But he knew if he would have said like, oh, let's start a band, I'd be like, no. So he told me that we were going to go look at puppies. And I'm a sucker. So we got to, what was our drummer's house, and we go inside, and all of the guys there from like lunchtime are there, and they all have their instruments on, and my husband's like, this is your band, and we're putting it together, and you don't get to say no, and this is what we're doing. And so it was like, okay, this is what we're doing. And in a million years, we never expected it to take off and be what it was. And for being active duty, we were so busy. We were playing every weekend from Washington, D.C. down to Raleigh, North Carolina. We were so busy. So I'm grateful for that experience, but that's not how I intended it to. I never expected it to be like that. So
yeah, well, thanks to him for getting you out there, and whether it's tricky or not, but also thanks to you guys for serving in our military. We definitely appreciate that. So I want to go ahead and play one more song before we talk some more, called "Behind the Whiskey," and we'll come back and have some fun.
Everything that I held dear got lost
Welcome back to Hank's Corner. I'm Hank Jr. here with my special guest, Dusty Leigh. And this is my part where I get to know a little bit more about you, whether it's part of the music or not part of the music. So one of the questions I like to know, and you've kind of already alluded to, you got a full-time job.
Yep.
Plus the music, which music takes up so much of everybody's time that's an artist. But when you're not doing that and you do get a chance to have fun, what are you doing for fun?
We usually are big outdoorsy people. I love to hike. We like to fish. We like to camp. We haven't gone camping here yet, but because again, the music stuff does take up 99% of my day. But in the off chance that we have an off weekend, we're usually out hiking somewhere. So we like to be anything outdoors.
Okay. And obviously if you're getting out there, sometimes you're probably playing music, at least on the road up there and that sort of thing. Obviously you're on my playlist. Who's currently on your playlist?
Oh gosh. Let's see. I have, oh man, there's so many. Now of course I can't remember. Mae Estes is one that I absolutely love. She is phenomenal. And I think she's great. And I adore her. Mary Kutter, everything that she comes out with is so great. I love Lainey Wilson. I've liked Lainey Wilson for
who doesn't?
Ashley McBryde. I have loved her for 100 years. I got to see her when she was inducted into the Opry, and that was so deserving. So I have the only bad thing is I don't commute anymore. I work from home, and that was where I listened to a lot of my new music. And I admit that a majority of the new music that I hear is on TikTok because I don't commute anymore. I don't listen to the radio very often. And so that's really a place of where I get all of my new music. So the guy that Noah, I'm totally going to butcher his last name. He wrote The Season of the Sticks. I love that guy. Everything he's come out with is great. So a lot of new people that have amazing, amazing talent. I love it.
Yeah, definitely. So also want to know locally, if I do make the trip up there, you kind of hinted about, maybe we'll grab some lunch or dinner, whatever. What are some of the best places to eat around your area?
Oh gosh, it depends. I will say one of the things that I love about Chattanooga is it is a foodie town, and everybody that knows me knows I love to eat. So I was excited when we moved to Chattanooga and found that out. So if you like steak, there is a place in Jasper, and they have the most amazing view and they have the most amazing steaks. It's called Top of the Rock. If you like sushi, Toto's in North Shore is phenomenal. We eat there probably once a week. We love it. There is an amazing taco place. It is called Epic Tacos, and it's right downtown Chattanooga, right on the water. They have epic margaritas. No, I'm sorry. It's called Agave and Rye. They have, they're called Epic Tacos. We go there quite often as well. The Whiskey Thief is really great. They have great little finger foods, and they have amazing whiskey selection. Oh gosh, where else do we go? Let me think. Oh, Aretha Frankenstein's is great for breakfast. They have amazing, amazing breakfast. Daily Rations, same thing. They have great breakfast. Trying to think. Tony's has amazing Italian food.
So it sounds like you got a little bit of everything there.
We do. And here, that's how we find all those is we map out our 5-mile run so that wherever we end up is a place to eat.
So when you say run, you're talking about like actually running, correct?
Yeah. My husband and I. Yeah,
and you do 5 miles, and that's great because I'm not much of a runner anymore. The older I get, it gets harder. But typically on Mondays, which we're recording this podcast on a Monday, was a 5-mile run that we do. And these 5 miles are getting a lot harder, and it's already starting to get really warm here in Tampa. I think it was like a little over 80 degrees today when I went out there running, and I'm sweating up a storm again. But
yeah,
So you do 5 miles. I mean, is that your normal? Have you done anything like a 10K or half marathon?
I've not done a 10. I did I did my first, I just took up running probably. I mean, I used to run track and stuff in high school, but Lord knows that was 100 years ago. It wasn't until 2018? 2019 that my husband and I kind of took up running as and we were running like 2 and 3 miles. Normally, depending on the day, we'll run anywhere between 3 and 4 miles usually because we try to do it at lunchtime or we'll do it early in the morning before work. So it kind of depends. But our goal before COVID hit was we wanted to do a half marathon in Disney because I said to him, listen, running, I don't get that runner's high. Like I've never gotten that runner's high.
Nope.
So when people are like, oh, it becomes so fun, I'm still waiting.
Nope.
Like it's been years and I'm still waiting. I really run for my mental health, honestly. It really is like an escape for me, but I never get that runner's high. So I still have to talk myself into it. So I was like, listen, if I'm going to be running 10 miles, 13 miles, I want a cool medal at the end of it. Like I want it to mean something. So that was my goal, was to run my first half in Disney. And we've kind of put it off a few times just because it's just not been feasible with my tour schedule, but it's still on my goal. I still want to do that before I get too old, but usually anywhere between 3 and 5 is usually our goal, depending on how much time we have.
And anybody that's watched my podcast knows that my wife is a huge Disney fan. I mean, that's part of the reason why we moved to Florida.
Oh, I love that.
And so we were there not too long ago, and they had just had the runners, because everybody was wearing their medals and everything like that. And I thought to myself, you know what? I think maybe next year I'll do the 10K. I mean, I cannot do the half marathon. I mean, I trained a few years back for one that just didn't happen. But I think I could do the 10. I mean, I've done 10Ks, but I think I could do the Disney 10K and enjoy that. And of course, my wife would want any excuse to go to the park.
Absolutely.
So,
I was really surprised to see how the lottery for those actually works. Like when they announce it, you have to be like, it's like getting concert tickets to a Springsteen or a Taylor Swift concert. Like it is wild. I did not realize how competitive it was to be able I'm like, you people are fighting over like for running to run. Like y'all are lunatics.
And I hate to say this, but I will, because I really don't hate to say it. But, I think Disney in general, when the people are going there, are lunatics, because it's just a crazy culture. But you know what? I love my wife. So
I love that.
It's okay. So, as far as your performance, if we were to come to a performance and see you out there, what should we expect? I mean, I assume you're not spitting gum in the crowd anymore.
No, yeah. No, I'm not allowed to have gum on stage anymore after my choking hazard. At least not when my best friend's in the audience and swears that she's going to give me the Heimlich in front of everybody. When you come to my show, I tell people this, you never know what you're going to get, because I'm just as surprised at the stuff that comes out of my mouth as everybody else, but you will never go home disappointed, because it's always a good time. So it really is like the venue. Like one of my favorite places so far that we've played here is Whiskey Cowgirls. It's a local place that just opened in Chattanooga. It's phenomenal. We absolutely love playing there. It's one of my favorite stages to be on. And it's a good time. I mean, it's like recovering from minor surgery. It takes me a couple of days to get it together, because when I'm on stage, it is 150% at all times. And so there's nothing more rewarding to me than seeing a crowd get into it, screaming my songs back at me, which is wild. Experiencing that is something that I will never get tired of. I absolutely love it. So, it's definitely a vibe for sure. You don't go home disappointed.
And can most people find you, I guess, now in Chattanooga? Is that where you're mostly playing right now? Or do you have any plans to go outside of the area?
Oh yeah, we travel everywhere from, we have a Texas run coming up. We go as far as like Georgia, and we have, this spring we're trying to wrap up, plans for we're hitting the Carolinas, South Carolina, North Carolina, doing a little circuit over there as well. We've been in talks about going back out west. It's always funny the whole time I was out west, when I lived in Idaho for 7 years, it wasn't as lucrative until I moved away. And then everybody's like, oh, come back to Idaho. I'm like, but I lived here and you guys didn't want to, so it's always, that's how it works. But yeah, we go pretty much anywhere. It just depends on, we've gotten some invitations to go up towards Indiana and Ohio and up that area. So yeah, we don't exclude anywhere. As long as if they've got some shows that they want to book, we'll go.
Well, I can get you down to Florida here if that's something that you want to do. And you definitely don't want to do it in the summertime, but it's definitely great when it's not hot. But, we can find all the shows on your website, correct?
Yes. Yep. All of our tour dates, everything is updated on the website.
Okay, and that's dustyleigh.com, and Leigh spelled Leigh. So everybody go out and check Dusty Leigh out. She's out on all the social medias, and if you haven't heard her music, you definitely need to be listening to it, because it is great. But Dusty, I had so much fun with you on the podcast. Anytime you ever want to be on the podcast, you're more than welcome to. Of course, like I said, we're going to end the podcast with Make Me Stay, but this has been a great time, and you're welcome back.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.